Toronto on Tilt. Yeah, follow us on our Twitter at Toronto on Tilt. Obviously, we're live on YouTube, live on Twitch, Toronto on Tilt. Tell your friends. This week was a mixed bag, I guess. Thoughts?
It was like a
500, 2-2.
It was like the most up and downs. Like, if this is what the whole season's going to be, I'm not going to be able to survive it. There is just so much. I know what baseball is like that.
Yeah.
But with our expectations being so high, it's made every game just unbelievably tough to get through because you're dying with every pitch, really, which you usually are, but not at this level because every game feels like, the Jays, we don't want to fall behind the NL East. We got to stay competitive. We got to keep winning these Yankee games. And it felt like, especially last night, I was very annoyed with the lineup. And
you want to get right to that? The lineup,
I do,
and Teoscar being hurt. So Teoscar's hurt. Apparently it's minor and he feels a lot better. It's an oblique. Danny Jansen looked like he was feeling fine and he's out several weeks. And then they say that he's actually not. I don't know. It's a fucking oblique. Who knows how long he's going to be?
Oblique's a bad one.
It's not good. Yeah, maybe. Hey, cool. He can come back, but there's things that guys are injured all the time. Like, yeah, it's not great. It's really not ideal. And Raimel Tapia has not had a great start to the season. Dropping that ball in the corner specifically.
Yeah.
Something talking about. And he hasn't hit at all.
He got hit in the ninth last night.
Okay.
He's just
he did get robbed
red up there.
He did get robbed too by JD, but at the same time, it's getting a little frustrating, and we're going to see a lot of him now.
Can we talk about how we literally joked that watch Montoya hit Tapia in like the 5-hole and DH him? He's already hitting him in the 5-hole. Yeah. And there's not like people are going to say, oh, well, he has injuries. Like, you don't. That shouldn't even be if you're going to go lefty, lefty, that shouldn't be the first lefty you throw up there. Why is that the guy? I'd rather have Cavan. I know Cavan is struggling, but he has a higher ceiling.
Well, he's walking.
At least, yeah. That's the thing with Cavan. Even when he's struggling, he's walking. Tapia, it's like you're getting a soft fielder's choice basically every time. You're not getting what the upside, I think, with Cavan Bijou up there. Well, I don't know if that's a big thing, but it really pissed me off yesterday seeing him in the 5.
Well, not only that, it's just like you guys brought it up when you first saw the lineup. Like, what the fuck is Chapman doing off on a day that Springer's like the lineup was just like, what are you guys doing? I get it. Oh, we're gonna throw a bunch of lefties at Luis Severino. How about you put your best players against Luis Severino? Now I know Chapman came in later and his defense hasn't been. It has not been platinum glove early. Just flat out, it hasn't been great. I expect that to be better because even when his hip was all mangled last year, he was elite defensively. So I guess that'll figure itself out. But I guess the interesting thing is, like, think about this. So you have the beginning of that Texas series where the bats are just ridiculous, which is also, I think, why we're living and dying so much in this series, because other than Vladdy hitting 3 fucking dingers in the third against Garrett Cole, or 3 dingers total, 2 against Cole, 1 was, and then he hit a double. The offense hasn't really clicked. Like, about halfway through the Sunday game that we were at, they stopped scoring. Like, they went up 6-1 and they basically just stopped scoring.
And it's a bad Rangers bullpen too. That's a bullpen you should score against.
Yeah, like I know the Yankees bullpen's better, and you get Garrett Cole and Luis Severino look really good, which is fucking concerning.
Yesterday,
I really don't like that.
That's
also,
like where you could say with our hitters, like, I mean, you face a guy dealing like that.
And like I forgot how much I hated Luis Severino, but like the whole talking with Alek Manoah, it was kind of like, you know what? Like, I really hope that happens because, Luis, I don't think that's going to go very well for you.
I wish Manoah stepped on the field at least. He just stayed in the dugout. He would have backed off.
He was standing up very high though. Like, he was the alpha of that group, and he was going to take charge if needed.
I don't think Luis Severino would have liked the consequences of his actions. If
he would have been in the IL for another 2 years if he had a confrontation with Alek Manoah. That would have been a huge issue for him.
We also talked about how much we love.
He thinks they have big guys too. He thinks Aaron Judge.
Let's go. Yeah, we got Judge and Stanton.
Did they get
Joey Gallo?
They're not going to get there in time.
Didn't they get into a fight last year with the Red Sox?
I don't know if they actually fought.
I thought like Judge had a thing and like he had some guy in a headlock. I saw a picture yesterday. I don't know if he won it, but maybe he.
I can't see Aaron Judge throwing a punch. I really can't.
I can't
Doesn't
see
seem
him
like that
holding
guy.
a little guy in a headlock and
No,
just
yeah.
waiting for the fight to be over.
They're all big, but they're not fighters.
Big guys
Big
can't
for
fight.
nothing.
As I've learned from Anthony, big guys, they can't fight.
Honestly, the most dangerous guy is probably JD. Because we've seen JD in baseball fights. He's a lunatic. That's probably the most dangerous dude on that team. And maybe we're all just chatting because he's a lunatic.
Isaiah Kiner Falafo is probably the biggest savage and just beats the shit out of anybody.
He's actually a kickboxer. He just comes out of nowhere, throws a roundhouse kick.
You're like, oh, there's the cauliflower ears. Like, what happened? Oh, we just missed that.
Oh fuck, God, he's been in the octagon this whole time. We didn't know.
I do want to talk about yesterday because you're saying how we struggled against good pitching. The problem with yesterday that pissed me off the most, our biggest situations, the ninth inning and the second inning, we had the top of the order up. Like the best guys were coming up and we had like the bases loaded and we couldn't do anything with it really. And I guess it's part of its hot pitching because the same thing happened against Cortez. Like I haven't been a big Cortez fan since last season. I'm like, this guy's actually pretty good. He just finds a way to get through innings. He did it again in the second game we played. And it just feels like so far early this season, it's been like a few games now where we've just gotten so cold and not being able to string anything together against pitchers that are pitching well.
Yeah, it's like that's what I said. Like when you look at the things that have happened to this team so far to start the season, and they're 4-3, like it. Like Danny Jansen getting hurt was bigger than I think a lot of people expected because Kirk catching isn't ideal. Kirk DHing was a great situation. Kirk having to be behind the plate most of the time, not so much. And Tyler Hanneman throwing that ball away at first base was frustrating.
Do you think that hurt Kikuchi? Because he caught the Kikuchi game, and Kikuchi, it felt like he just didn't throw his fastball a lot, really. And I don't think that he's throwing fastball well, and he just wasn't throwing it much. It
was weird because Kikuchi looked like he was fastball slider for like the first 2 innings. Then he worked in a cutter. I don't know. I know he has a splitter, but I guess he shelved it like halfway through last year, and he hasn't really he has a bunch of pitches. He has a lot of good movement. It's just, man, a lot of those pitches were center cut. And I don't know how much of that, is the catcher when the pitcher's throwing them right down the dick.
The first inning, he got very lucky because they were hitting everything, and he got out of the inning without anything.
That Lourdes Gurriel catch?
Yeah, which he's made like a lot of good plays. With the play yesterday, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. The one he missed.
He could have caught that. I was about to say, I was convinced of that. I was yelling that. I was telling you guys, I was telling anyone that would listen. And then when Joe Siddle came on, he's just like, I think he could have caught that. And he was convinced he was just going to deke the runner. And I'm like, thank you. Like, you can see him jogging.
Lourdes play we got.
You see him jogging. And the throw.
The
that first was nowhere near him missing 2 cutoff men in the same gate. Like Lourdes has already had some adventures.
Made a very good throw after that, keeping Stan to a single. He's had some good catches.
Well, come on,
it's what it is. It's what it is.
Getting a double.
Him and Teoscar,
who was in left field,
but he played it very well. Played exactly how he was supposed to play.
Too hard. He's too slow to get a double. He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about Espinal the play before, literally running himself off the fucking?
Yeah, that was
frustrating.
No one's talking about that because there's certain guys on the team people like to focus on.
I would like to say
the track record of.
Yeah, he is what he is. He is what he is. He's going to make plays like that. Teoscar's also going to make plays like that. His bat needs to be better to make up for it.
Well, you saw the one that Teoscar threw out JD at home. He made a meal of it in right field. And then the Yankees third base coach or JD, whoever decided to send JD or JD's decision to go.
Sent JD.
That was so bad. And Teo got to bail himself out by gunning him down at home. The positive I will say is, it was weird. On Twitter, there's a lot of people that were saying that Barrios sucked. He looked pretty good and then kind of came apart at the end, which to me felt like he didn't get out of the first inning. He threw 30 some odd pitches in game 1. Looked good until he hit the 70s, and then he started hanging the breaking ball, and the fastballs became center cut. So he looks like he's progressing to being better, and Kevin Gossman looked really good. If it's not for Lourdes,
he did not deserve what happened yesterday.
Exactly. If it's not for Lourdes making a meal of that ball,
I've been always seen that play too. That put the guy.
No, that's true.
That didn't happen.
To be honest,
the Jets play was almost as bad. He didn't keep
where he missed it, and then it ended up in left field.
It was the first time defense hurt them this season, really.
And then bloop singles. Basically.
Yeah, But Kevin Goss, that's what I've been talking about, though. That high fastball in the 94 to 97, right? You got that working. Oh, there goes the puppy. You got the splitter and the changeup, and now he's throwing that slider, and he doesn't throw it like the first time through the order, and then he's out there just sneaking it through. That was impressive.
Yeah. We were saying it after his first start, like in person. Like he was the only one I wasn't really concerned with because it's like I could see what a good Gausman's going to look like. Even his bad outing, he's able to figure it out and get us through innings. The problem with Berrios is he can implode and just nothing can go his way. Gausman's really, really good, and like even when he's bad, he's good. And last night everything was working. Like the Yankees' big hitters who have been good against him, like Stanton. You see those swings Stanton was putting up? Really embarrassing.
The funny thing is, they kept talking about how he had great numbers against Gausman. I'm like, how many of those were like? Was that all the Orioles? Basically, like literally all the Orioles before he became a good player? Like, yeah, okay.
He looked ridiculous.
Although with Stanton, when he was an Oriole,
it was.
I'm trying to think like how long they would have overlapped when Stanton got traded there. Maybe one season.
17, he got there.
Yeah, so maybe one season, but one season's enough in the AL East if you play a guy enough times to get that many at bats. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he saw him miss that on 5 times.
Yeah, and he seemed to he didn't know when the fastball was coming, the changeup, the cut, and then
uncomfortable swing.
Those I think he threw 3 sliders in the first, that bat where Stanton just sword, K gone, sit down.
Yeah, there was
the second AB
like that. He just stood there.
Yeah, the swords, the pitching to the swords. It was just it was fantastic. So positive note, the pitching's coming around. Alek Manoah, he's good.
He got kind of wild, but he didn't give up any hits, so he was able to get out of those.
Well, the most interesting thing about Manoah's start is the 5th inning. He went 6, right? Or did he go? Yeah, so it was the 5th inning. He looked tired. His second last inning, he looked like he was losing it. The fastball velocity had dropped, and he was kind of getting wild, and he got out of it. And Charlie went back to him, which Charlie doesn't normally do. I generally think Charlie has kind of a quick hook. He went back to him, and I was kind of concerned because I was like, oh, Christ, he looked real tired in the last inning. And then he was nails. He came back out for that 6th, locked it down, went right through it, handed it over the bullpen, and dominated. Right?
Yeah. Was it against Judge and Stanton?
I don't know. Judge might have been the one before, but it was definitely Stanton. It was 4, 5, 6 at least.
Stanton and Gallo, yeah.
Yeah. So it that was super impressive to me. Although at this point, I'm nothing surprises me with Alek Manoah anymore. He's just so good. Then you have Kevin Gausman.
I said it. 50-1 MVP. It was stupid for Cy Young.
Cy Young, yeah. Yeah,
he should have been on the same plane as the rest of our pitchers. He has the potential to be that ace type. It's just about him proving it again this year.
The way the changeup was moving, I know the velocity was still up a little bit, but holy shit, that's different, man. If you have that kind of movement, and now, oh god, the 2-seamer, the 4-seamer, that slider, curveball, the breaking ball that he throws, add in a changeup, that's dangerous.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be your 3 or 4 type, which is crazy if you have the other 3 working. But
yeah,
he's got the highest ceiling out of everyone right now because he's the youngest and he's developing new pitches, and he seemed like he was throwing harder the first game, which would be nice if he's hitting that consistently. But it's definitely very encouraging.
Yeah, he and Gausman, I think, are the guys. I think we talked about this earlier that we had probably the most confidence in.
Yeah,
Berrios will come around. But it just seems that those 2 dudes, even when they're off, they'll gut through it and keep the team in the game. Where, like you said, Berrios can blow up. Whereas they just seem to be even if they don't have their best stuff, they're just going to keep battling out there and keep the team in it.
And Kikuchi, I think one of you were saying, expect a slow start from him, during the preview video.
That was me,
because we were he's a guy who's going to need to be reworked by Walker, and it's going to take him probably a month just to get in a rhythm, and plus, not having consistent catchers is not going to help him, I don't think. But
no, exactly.
He might be a guy who struggles a bit, and who knows how long his leash will be, especially if they're going to if Stripling, because I got bringing this up now, but if we're going to 6-man rotation, if Stripling's off to a good start and Kikuchi's not pitching well, how does that end up working itself out? How long of a chance does he get to prove himself?
Well, he's got a 3-year deal worth a lot of money, so I got a feeling he's got a lot of rope.
Yeah, he's getting
Kikuchi.
an opportunity.
But this is where Nate Pearson getting mono fucking sucks. Because This could have been his start. You'd probably still see Stripling for 2 or 3 innings, just the way the bullpen is set up, because Pearson wouldn't be fully stretched out. But this is where it really hurts, because it would have been really nice to see him get one of those spot starts to see what he can do, right? Like, has he graduated maybe to being a starting pitcher, or is he going to be a reliever, or hey, maybe opener, like 2-3 innings. Maybe that's just what he does. He's got mono. That's not an option. And we get to see Ross Stripling, who, I mean, his first outing that we saw was great. His second outing, I think all three of us were upset that it wasn't David Phelps. We were at that game. But we're going to see what he's got now, because he's back in the rotation, because they want to give Ryu an extra day. And which means I'm going to the game tomorrow, and I'm actually quite upset, because we're like, oh shit, yeah, Alek Manoah game. And then it's just like, we're going to see another Ryu start.
You're going to see every Ryu game. That's what happens sometimes when you like playing games and you always end up seeing the same pitchers.
Yeah, exactly. So
when I saw, like, I went to see the Verlander Tigers for years, and every time I went, Nate Robertson was pitching. Like, there's no bigger disappointment than that.
Oh my god, that's a name. Nate Robertson. Who the hell? I thought you were gonna pull like Jeremy Bonderman or like some of the other guys that were like good at one point and then kind of fell apart. But damn,
the fifth starter basically every time.
Jesus, unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, maybe when we see Houston, Verlander is going to pitch. It's been meant to be for years.
Oh god, I don't want to see him pitch in the Rogers Center. He is way too good here.
He's already had no hitter here.
Yep.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, Anthony always
one is a Tiger, and one is a Tiger, and one is an Astro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony always wants to see good teams play us. I kind of want to go to see shitty teams play us, so we have a better chance at winning.
Well, I'm spending a lot of money.
Score a bunch of runs.
If I'm spending a lot of money going, I want to spend it.
The tickets are $10, dude.
But it's not. I'm not just going there to sit in my seat. You know, I'm getting drinks. I'm getting food. Whatever.
I'm gonna see this A's team. Gave the Rays a run.
I saw someone talk with us on Twitter, and they're saying, like, doesn't this remind you like Major League, where everyone just hates the owner, and they're just going to win in spite of that until they all get traded? But for now, they could.
The funny thing is they've all been traded. Like Frankie Montas, has he been? Well, there was the talk that Frankie Montas was getting traded to Chicago.
He pitched for the A's.
Yeah,
the day he was supposed to get traded, and he dominated.
Yeah, so I don't know. He's probably the only one left that will get traded, because everyone else there, like, they have so much team
Smith
control.
is making nice plays in the field.
Kevin Smith's also 0 for 16 with 8 Ks and no walks.
Yeah.
Which just means that against the Blue Jays, he's going to go nuts. He's going to have the revenge series from hell.
Yeah. Well, we locked down Semien pretty good. So we'll see. Yeah.
And JD. JD's really been struggling at the plate.
He's striking out every time.
Yeah, it's been bad. I don't know how long they keep in the leadoff spot, but
they already took him out and they're putting Rizzo there.
Yeah, they had him back there yesterday, I think, though, because they've been kind of flipping it, and they him and Fluff have just been really horrible to start. Fluff had a good game yesterday, but not great for the
good game. Fluff had a bunch of lucky
couple
loops
of
that turned into
singles
against the shift. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good game for him, though. Like, I was listening to, I think it was John Boy, and they're talking about like his advanced stats, and they're just becoming so much less excited about this guy. Every time you look at a stat, it's like this guy's barrel rate is just so low. Everything about him is just
he was a guy like Gio Urshela, where it was just like, man, he hit for a high average one year. Like, shit, he plays elite defense. Is he actually good? When you look at the metrics, and you're like, oh no, that was just a really lucky season. That was where he had a bunch of seeing eye singles and everything dropped, and his BABIP was like 1 million, right? And it was just like, oh man, he's good. Yeah,
it wasn't even.
He's good defensively. He's good defensively. He was a catcher to start, and they moved him. Then he was a utility guy. Then they made him a full-time third baseman. Now he's a shortstop.
And he's not even that great at shortstop.
He's fine.
A better third baseman than shortstop.
Yeah, he won a fucking Gold Glove there.
Yeah, so.
But they have JD. I was making fun of this Yankees. We were making fun of this Yankees roster a lot, because you have a Gold Glove second baseman who plays first and third, barely plays second. You have a Gold Glove third baseman who's a shortstop for you. Rizzo's good at first. That's a fact. Glaber is Glaber. He's not great at second base. And JD's getting older, so he's good. We've seen him make great plays against the Jays, which was kind of frustrating. He's made a couple of good snags on balls that were fucking hammered. But you have a bunch of guys playing in weird positions. Then you had the Aaron Hicks in left field, Judge in center, and Stanton in right outfield. Then you had the giant outfield yesterday, where it was Gallo, Judge, and Stanton. The Yankees roster is weird, man. Like they have a bunch of guys that play the same position, so they're
all just trying to maximize their offense, and they just try to fit everybody in.
And this is their flexible defensive version of the Yankees. Like they made trades to make this team more flexible.
Yeah. And their offense is still the same offense, where it's like I know they have more left-handed hitters now, but it's like tell me Gallo's not just Stanton and Judge, but lower batting it. Like you have a bunch of guys that literally do the same thing. You hit home runs, you take walks, you strike out.
Yeah, that's what they want. They don't care about strikeouts the way they build their team. But
how frustrating is Joey Gallo, Anthony? He crushes everything, and it's just bad luck, always finds a field.
Really bad luck with the way he's hitting the ball. It's bad,
dude. And he'll go on a run for like 15 or 20 games where he'll hit 300 and he'll hit 20 home runs. Like I feel like
we're lucky it didn't happen this week.
Yeah, it always happens with him. That's how he gets to 40. He goes through these stretches where you're like, can this dude eat? Like, can he even see the baseball? Like, what is going on? And then he gets red hot.
You just know he's gonna strike out.
Like, you see the first swing.
You knew. Like
after
the first pitch, he's definitely striking out.
Exactly. You see the first swing, you can tell he can't see he's just not seeing it well off that pitcher, and it's going to be ugly and it's going to be fast. Like he's going to strike out fast.
He still has like a 360 on base, even though none of his balls are dropping, nothing's going over the fence. So Yankee fans think he's the problem, but I'm going to tell you he is not.
Tony's a very ardent Joey Gallo defender.
I am.
So that's been frustrating. I guess we can kind of focus like Teo being out and Danny being hurt. Those are kind of huge. Like Danny specifically, we started talking about this and then I think we transitioned somehow. But like Danny's defense and the fact that he was hitting, like the hitting was just a bonus, but Danny's defense was huge. He handles the pitching staff really, really well. Kirk's not as good defensively. He doesn't handle the pitching staff as well. He should be DHing. You have Tyler Hanneman, who I don't know what he is, like minor league like a journeyman. You got Zach Collins, who's not really a catcher. Like he's Kyle Schwarber light, but he's going to play catcher. Moreno's not ready because he's only played one game. I think he's playing his second or maybe his third today. But
he didn't have his spring training.
Exactly. So he's at least a couple of weeks away, just because. And a couple of weeks means he has to hit like 400. Right, in order to be a couple of weeks away, because he's probably a couple of months away.
After that first game, he had like 2 bloop singles, and they're like
exactly, and threw a runner out. So they're like,
they did the prospect report, like 2 for 5. It's
like, 2 for 5, and he threw it a runner, and then 2 bloop singles. The throwing out a runner was he gunned a dude down though in second base, which was cool.
Yeah, that's
but yeah, like he's gonna need some time, and it's like that was a big deal, and. It was like, okay, well, this offense is still really good. Losing Teo is massive. Like at that point, to lose both of them, Teoscar's won 2 straight Silver Sluggers. He's been one of the more consistent hitters on this team over the last 2 years.
I'd argue he's the most underrated player in baseball, just based on who he plays with and the lack of talk he gets from everyone other than us, really. Yeah. Well, other than Jays fans.
Yeah, like
the guy is like...
He's a massive part of their offense. He's a massive part of their offense. To lose him is huge. To replace him with Tapia, probably, it's a huge downgrade. That one's going to hurt.
And we were talking about the Grichuk trade when it happened. And we were like, okay, it's good because
Grichuk and McGuire, it's funny. Because it was like both of them just aren't going to play. And now you're like, fuck, I kind of like Reese's Grichuk, defense.
The only reason it's a problem is because Grichuk's a better option when you have to play longer. Like when you got an injury and you got to put a Grichuk, it's a better idea than
now. Tapia. Bradley Zimmer is the one I really want to see get run. Yeah. I actually like him more than I would have liked having Grichuk because he can really play center field. It's been interesting the 2 times he's played. He went right into center field and George moved to right. And then yesterday George was DHing and he started in center field. I found that very interesting.
It's a smart thing to do.
Yes, because he is elite defensively. And I'd like to see him get more run because, yes, he strikes out more than Raimel Tapia, but he's faster, plays legitimately elite defense, has a stronger arm, hits for power, takes his walks. He's a guy that has a bunch of tools. His problem is generally staying healthy. It's not being good at baseball. It's staying healthy, right? Like, he's a guy that looks good, gets hurt, and then
he strikes out a ton too.
Yeah.
Which hurts
so he's a guy I'd like to see get some run. I just don't know if that's going to happen because they seem to be absolutely in love with Tapia.
Yeah, I'm hating the Grichuk trade more and more.
Yeah, mostly because Tapia's playing way more than I thought he would. Because remember, we talked about this. He should be a fourth outfielder. He should be playing like 200 and now he's played basically every day.
In the 5-hole. Do you think they start throwing Biggio in that rotation at least a little bit? If Espinal's just going to start every day, he's got to play. Like, he can't just.
I have no idea.
I don't know if that's because they seem to love Tapia.
Yeah, like it's been shocking the fact that Kevin Biggio's basically been. He is not important to them anymore. He's being treated. They're acting like he is the 24th, 25th, 26th man on the roster.
It's so weird. And they started him opening day, and like 2 bats in, they decided he is no longer our starter.
Yeah, well, he started the first 2 days. He started the first 2 days.
Yeah, and they
pinch hit for, and then basically Espinal has locked the job down.
Just crazy.
And even the last 3 games for Espinal haven't been great. Like, it's not like Espinal has. Like, I still think there should be some sort of a platoon. Maybe
that's why they're leaving him in there. That's why they're leaving him in there, is because he's hitting the ball so hard. He's gotten bigger, and he's made some great defensive plays at second base. He had not the best play at third base, but at second base, he has been phenomenal.
It should be Biggio. I think Biggio should be getting more time than Tapia.
We talked about him all offseason as like the Jays love him as an asset. Like, teams were talking about, like, why didn't we just deal him then?
Because that might have all been bullshit. Because that might have all
get sent down to something.
No. They're not going to send. I don't think so. Look at how old he is. What's the point of sending him down? I think honestly,
you're killing his value not playing him. Like,
dude, they're using him.
How you're playing him is useless.
They're using him how they originally talked about him. He's going to play a bunch of different positions, and he's not going to play every day. That's how they're using him. And I don't know if he's that guy because he walks, but did any of his swings look particularly good? I'd also like to point out they're starting him again. Like, he doesn't hit heat well, and they started him against a guy that has one of the highest average fastball velocities in the entire fucking league. Like, that was set up for him not to do well. It was actually set up, I think, for him to walk, was to just wait and not really swing it much. And then when you saw him swing, the swings didn't look good.
They are screwing him over. That's a good way to look at it.
He might be a guy that needs to play.
Argument file.
They just put him in against righties. So like a righty's pitching, so we'll get him in. They don't think
righty is. But then they left him in against the lefty in yesterday's game. Remember, he faced Letang, or was it in this game where he faced Letang? Yeah. But right, like, they have left him in for lefty. It's just, I don't know. I don't like the way they're using him. Just looks to me like he's the bottom of the. Blair was saying this, and Barker last night on Jay's Talk. I heard it when I was driving back from soccer. That they're using him like a bottom of the roster guy, and maybe we should just get used to that's what they think of him. Yeah. But I would rather see him get some run than Ramos Tapia, especially considering
Tapia to be treated, not necessarily Kevin Biggio.
Right? We talked about that. The whole reason I liked the Tapia trade was because he was supposed to be a fourth outfielder. And if he was playing as much as he's playing, you had problems. And they're 4-3, so they don't have that many problems. But I mean, they got some problems.
Yeah. And it's not a dominant 4-3 either. They're sneaky. Well, listen,
it's a little too, like, you can't really, like, go into that because there's a lot of things happening early season baseball. It's just more the fact that this offseason I had to hear all about Kevin Biggio and how much the organization loves him and these deals that he could have been involved with. Who knows if they're true or not? If they are,
it's starting to look like that was some bullshit because just the way that they're not using him
into the picture.
Yeah, because like
before they got Tapia.
But also look at the way they're not using him. If they really valued him and he was a guy like they were holding close to their chest and wouldn't trade for anything, he'd be getting more run.
Yeah, if they really liked him.
Right?
They'd rather have their slap hitting, average defensive outfielder hit fifth in our lineup.
Him dropping that ball in left field, like
that was a very catchable ball.
That he slid into it. He did catch it, and it came out of his glove. He dropped it.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of I was just about to say, what's the purpose of putting him in instead of Lourdes if that's what it's going to look like?
I know.
Lourdes made his sliding catch opening day. Just saying. It's probably a ball he had to go further to Tapia. But
I would also like to point out that, I don't think Lourdes would have gotten to the ball that Tapia got to.
You would have taken a weird route and it would have been a single.
Yeah, but at the same time, that can't be happening. It's another reason I want to see more.
That's why Tapia is supposed to be there.
It's another reason I want to see more Zimmer. I want to see Zimmer in right field.
He looked really fast running to first base. He almost beat.
His speed caused that drop.
Yeah, that's right.
The
DJ rushed it and Rizzo took his eye off the.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, he's the guy I want to see more of, but the way they didn't use him the way basically him and Kevin Biggio weren't being used, and Tapia was being run out every single day when it looked like they were trying to get different guys at bats, like Collins and Heineman, like they were getting guys involved, and they basically went, "Oh, Kevin, oh, Zimmer, just stay there, sit your asses down, and don't move.
You'll be pinch runners, maybe."
That's what they've
used like every game basically. As you can look at it, he's played every game, but he hasn't really hit in any game. He's had 7 at bats, right?
Maybe. Like that, it's kind of wild.
This is we were kind of big because we either wanted that big Ramirez trade in the offseason or a combination of a Chapman, Schwarber. I still think we need another bat, and we were kind of all in agreement. But it looks like that won't happen to the deadline now, and we're kind of seeing why. One injury, and you're going to Tapia every day, which is something you really don't want to do. You're hoping Zimmer's something. Biggio is apparently out of the plans. There's just a lot of things that I haven't really worked out so far.
And Kirk having to catch most of the days means your DH is now catching. So your DH is now someone you don't really want as your DH. Or you have to put a defensive guy in so that one of your better hitters gets a day off, but they're still DHing. These are the situations they're dealing with now.
Yeah, if you're going to DH Springer again, you can't sit Chapman. That just can't happen anymore. You have to plan around that.
Exactly. Chapman's a guy who tries to play all. He's like Marcus Semien, who wants to play all the games. So you give him a day off. I know he has. Has he been amazing to start? No, but we've got other problems. So that it didn't make any sense.
He has a track record, at least a better track record than anything else put out there. And can we also talk about this because I've been just yelling at myself about this. This Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Can we just put him in the fucking 2-hole, just for a week at least to see how it goes? There's 2 games this week. He got one less at bat than 2-hole hitter. There were situations all series with a 2-hole, which I like Bo, but come on, you want
Bo's at bats looked better starting in the Garrett Cole game. But we talked, we have not mentioned it on the podcast, but we talked between us after the fucking dinger in the Texas series. I don't think he had a competitive at bat until he played Garrett Cole.
No, he's swinging for the fences every time.
It was 3-4 pitch at bats where he swung every single time and K'd. It felt like every at bat was a K.
And ultimately, he's just spinning and out of his shoes, he's swinging.
Yeah, and that's what Bo does. He goes through those streaks. I'm pretty sure he started the season the same way last year, where he either had a little bit of a hot streak, then a big lull, and then got going again.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about it on the pod, but Theo brought up how he wanted Vladdy to the whole time.
The entire last season this year.
And Tony and I were kind of the speed, and you saw it in the first 2 games of the Texas series, where Springer would go first to third on a Bo single. The speed and everything doesn't help when you're having uncompetitive bats.
Yeah, I just think of it as our lineup is so good. Vlad is obviously a better hitter than Bo, but it's just kind of we have flexibility. We can play with speed like that if you want. I wouldn't care either way. It's fine. But the way Bo's hitting right now, I would definitely flip them.
The problem is, and with Teo gone, you don't have the the guy that. Another big thing about Teo being gone is guys had to pitch to Vladdy because pitchers were afraid of Teo. Granted, Vladdy's the one everyone knows, and you saw what he did to Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's tipping his cap to him because Vladdy's unbelievable, even though he had a finger cut open.
Big baby.
It's funny too. Yeah, it's you tip. I get tipping the cap. I get tipping the cap when he hits your 98 that's like 6 inches off the plate, but tipping your cap when you threw one right down the dick and he tattooed it into right field, like maybe don't throw it down the dick, Garrett.
Yeah, I don't think he was really genuine. I know he said nice things after the game, but in the moment, it didn't feel genuine.
I don't think any of us like Garrett Cole, so fuck Garrett Cole, no matter what he does.
Yeah, he's a big baby.
He fixed their offense for a bit. Nestor Cortez really shut us down, and we're like, we got to face Garrett. Maybe it'll help us. And
dude, Tyon and Cole, this offense was ready.
Crazy.
Nestor Cortez and Luis Severino, not so much.
Still didn't score. We still didn't score as much as we could. You know, we're better than this.
We're starting to see what the Texas pitching staff was. Now it's going to be interesting when they play Oakland because, like, who are the pitchers they're facing? Because I don't think I was about to say because no, what's his face? We talked about Montas went. So they have Dalton Jeffries today, Blackburn tomorrow, and Aller. Oller against Manoah.
I couldn't really give you an intelligent analysis on really any of those guys. I know some of their names, but I don't really know much.
Blackburn was good like years ago, and I watched him in the start against the Rays, and they didn't hit him very well, but he's a guy who throws like 88 to 91 with a bunch of he's one of those guys who just throws a bunch of pitches in and around the plate, which I mean after Nestor Cortez is actually kind of terrifying.
Because you saw with the Texas series, like the big issue with the Jays, or the thing that went well, is they were trying to like pick the corners and they were missing, and the Jays were waiting them out. This series, like Cortez was just going at them, like they were getting pitches to the strike zone, they just couldn't hit them.
And like Sevy just overpowered them, like he did, because those fastballs, a lot of them were in the zone. Yeah, granted, he got some calls down low that the Jays weren't getting. Umpires are bad.
Strike zones. Have you guys follow that umpire report account?
I can't because it's going to kill me.
It's like I'm not trying to be like a homer, but the strike zones the Jays have gotten this year have been crazy, like out of their favor. Go through every game, it's just been like insane the kind of strike zones we've got.
Even that first pitch on Bo last night in the 9th inning was so far inside.
They called it all night. He's been consistent. No, he hasn't been.
Exactly.
He's not. They're saying like, oh, look, they gave Gossman a call. No, that's a strike. That's literally a strike. It's on the strike zone. It's in the fucking.
Yeah, Donaldson was complaining on that strike 3. He struck out looking. It was clearly
clear strike.
He was complaining about it.
Yeah, so it's that shit's frustrating. But yeah, the series against the A's is going to be interesting because they can't slow down and they've got injuries and they've got some issues. But like they basically need to tattoo these guys. It's got to look like that Texas series again. Not from the pitching perspective of the Texas series, but it has to look like the offensive version against that Texas team. Hopefully Ronald Tapia gets hot because it looks like he's getting a lot of run. I'm terrified to see the lineup today. I really am. Because him hitting 5
look better
is
today,
like unforgivable.
Chapman's going to play at least.
Yeah,
Chapman's
probably going to get moved up. What I'm wondering, I don't think we're going to see it, but like, because I talked about Teo like hitting behind Vlad and getting Vlad more pitches to hit. So it's like, what do? Do you move Gurriel behind him because his at-bats have been better, but he isn't really doing much? Do you want Bo in the 4 hole? Like, I don't see how this is going to change quickly. Like, I got a feeling you're going to see Springer, Bo, Vlad, and then it's going to be a whole lot of what, right? It's going to be maybe Gurriel and Chapman and Kirk. Kirk kind of started getting to go last night.
He hasn't looked.
He hadn't looked good. Like he looked great in spring, and he looked pretty bad this year. He got kind of not jobbed. He hit a few to the warning track in that Texas series where you felt like, oh man, like I think there was one at the game we were at. We thought it was gone and went off the wall.
He's also hit like the most would have been an infield single.
Yeah, if it was anyone else
so far,
but he did run one out. He did run one out.
If he didn't beat that one, there was really no.
Yeah,
he was never going to get infield hit the rest of the season.
No. But is he a guy you expect? Do you think
that was
he
like,
Bradley Zimmer?
You could walk to first base. Anyone in this podcast right now could walk to first base and probably make it before Kirk. That's how much like he should have made that.
Yeah, but he did, and he looked better. So hopefully, he's starting to heat up.
All I care about tonight, I don't care what you do at 3-4. Just try Vladdy at 2 because at least he'll give him an extra.
I have a bad feeling we ain't going to see that for a while.
Going.
I got a bad feeling we ain't going to see that for a while.
Well, we didn't really see it last year either, so it's not bad.
Yeah. They're gonna probably lead the top three the same. Both should be in the top three.
Or the top four. Gurriel behind him. What I'm interested to see is if Chapman comes and hits 5 or hits 6.
I think if Gurriel has another couple of games like he's been having, that might get flipped.
Yeah, we need one of those guys to really get going.
It's like before the year, I said 5, 6, 7. You can change it whatever you want. This is when they're healthy. So that's Kirk, Chapman, and Gurriel. Like wherever you put those guys, not a big deal if it's in that order.
Yeah.
And because they want to go righty lefty so much and they have those options, it's kind of weird to see how they construct it. But they might end up doing a Chapman 4. I think that is going to end up happening.
This is kind of the series too. Like he's playing the A's, he's playing his old team. And on top of that, he's always talked about how much he likes hitting at the Rogers Center. So you have him in a very offensive-friendly environment against 3 pitchers that aren't exactly world beaters against his old team in a revenge. Like I just feel like this is probably the series where he should have a big series. He really should break out because it's not like there's anyone out there that really scares me that the A's are going to be throwing at him. So
over under 1.5 home runs for Chapman this weekend.
I'm not doing these predictions anymore because we said the same thing with the Rangers. And
why you don't want to give up? You want to buy a jersey? Is that why?
Yeah, Anthony, I don't. It actually fall through if I actually said I would, unlike you. So I'm not going to say anything stupid.
I'm just not trying to buy jerseys every day.
Anything else you wanted to get to from this Yankee series, from Texas series?
Texas Rangers are scoring a ton of runs still. So
yeah,
kind of what I was saying on the weekend as a spin zone for what happened, and it looks right.
Well, they played the Rockies, right?
Well, they blew up Ohtani yesterday.
They did, actually. Well, the funny thing was, this Jays pitching staff has looked way better against the Yankees than they did against the Texas Rangers. I don't think anyone would have expected that.
Well, the Yankees have been struggling to start the year, too. Like, they didn't look great against Boston.
Yeah. Well, and the A's have been hot.
Season stuff.
The A's have been hot, but the A's haven't had a lot of guys that like you would expect to do really well. Like, it's kind of been like, oh, okay, Chad Pinder randomly hit a couple of home runs. It's like,
they did the park home run yesterday. Like they've just weird
they've been getting some early season luck. Like we've seen Baltimore, we've seen Miami have crazy early season runs where they win a bunch of games, and then at the end of the season, what do? They still lose 100+ games. So this really. Like, hey, maybe they keep going, but this should really be, even with the injuries, where the Jays get to put the wood to somebody.
Yeah.
And it's the only opportunity we're going to get for a while because I think we go to Boston and then play the Astros, right?
Yep. And Boston, Astros, and I'm pretty sure it's the Yankees again.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about how they play the Yankees a whole ton. They play them again in like 10 days or something. Which
the
makes
first
me
2
think,
series in May or something, like 2 of the first 3 are Yankees.
Exactly. So it's like there's going to be a lot of Yankees games coming up. It's going to be frustrating.
And you see the Rays schedule, they play like Baltimore basically the entire first half of the season. It's like they don't play them after like.
So the Rays are going to get off to like a big they'll get off to like a big lead in the AL East as they smash the Orioles.
Well, I thought this Oakland series, I'm like looking like they play Oakland twice, 1 at home, and then a bunch of Orioles series. I'm like, well, the Rays are going to be up like 5 games by like the All-Star break, and they lost that Oakland series, so I guess get them early is probably better to play.
Thank God,
Oakland.
yeah.
It's probably tougher to play Oakland early in the season than later.
Thank God the A's did us a solid. Now they need to do us another solid and lose. Just lose. Just roll over and die.
Leave them in Tampa.
Yeah. Was there anything else we needed to get to? We talked about Teo and Danny and.
Did we talk about Ryu at all? Should we?
I want to see what happens in this next start before I talk about him because he looked good. We were at that start. He did look good. You had some bad defensive plays behind him. The one that caught Bo, I don't know how much I blame Bo, and it was a tough play, but if that's made, he probably gets out of that inning. This is going to be a big start for him. It really is, because if he looks good, because then he got hit too, like he got hit in the back of the ankle and they took him out. If he can look like he did early in that game, I'm not so worried.
Yeah, I
feel pretty good about it.
The velocity looked fine.
He was up to 91.
They just kind of, were more ready for it the second time around, which is a common thing. Hopefully, he doesn't do that.
But again, he gets out of the inning if Bo makes that play, right? Like, and then who knows how the rest of that game
everything
goes. How
was scorched, though. It wasn't like he got everything was hit hard after. Like even the Bo play was hit hard.
That's why.
But when it was hit hard, but it wasn't like it was a line drive. Like it hit hard on the ground right at somebody is still. We talk, I especially me, who's been talking about this defense being really good, that should be making more plays. So, like with Espinal in there, like you see the potential they could be, because we've seen Bo make some phenomenal plays. We've seen Chappie make a couple. Not like he's also duffed some really easy ones, bobbled some balls, but also just last night was frustrating because they load the bases too against Chapman. Nobody out and can't get out of it.
With Springer coming up, Springer picked the worst time to have his worst at bats of the year because he's having really good ones up until.
The Garrett Cole game was where, like, Springer had looked phenomenal until that moment, and then he looked like he kind of got out of it.
Springer went up there. He was ready to hit a home run on the first pitch, and he helped them, went out of the zone, and then he just got 99 on the corner or whatever.
Yeah.
But Matt Chapman, I don't think he's going to make a base running blunder like that again. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I never do that.
Yeah, me neither. We've seen, like, I don't know. He's got to be better. He just does. I don't think that's a huge overreach either. Because he's supposed to be good. Right, he's supposed to make all of the plays. He's not supposed to be making those boneheaded base running errors.
But yeah, Chapman.
That's really all it is.
Chapman threw a 3-0 slider to Kevin Biggio. Like, I don't know what was going on.
He could throw his fastball. He just didn't have faith in it.
I know, but that's crazy. It's Kevin Biggio. You can even take a few off. He's going to miss.
Dude, he throws 103, and every once in a while he just throws sliders and splitters because he doesn't think he can throw the fastball in the zone. Like,
if he was pitching still, we would still be playing baseball right now because he was never going to throw a strike.
He also does that against the Jays a lot, I feel like. I feel like the Jays have great at-bats against Chapman.
And he was facing 7, 8, 9. I know we pinch hit Chapman.
I wanted to see a replay on that Espinal. I think he might have gone on that.
But, really dude, even when they've been bad, they've played good against him. Like, since 2015, like, since they were good, even before they were good in that season, they've played Chapman hard. Like, they always seem to get guys on against Aroldis. They have good at bats against him. Every iteration of this team seems to make him really work. So, anything else?
Go Jays.
Go big
big week. Are we doing a Sunday show?
We could. We'll see how the week goes. If we lose the series, we'll be doing a Sunday show. If there's a lot to talk about,
if they lose the series or if they destroy them and we start riding high again, we'll be back for a Sunday show. A post Sunday thing to get back on track.
If Ryu blows up, I think we're waiting to see another Ryu start. I think he's going to pitch this weekend. So
we got a Stripling start and a Ryu start, and then Manoah to cap it all off. So we could be very angry and then be saved by the Manoah one when we go do.
They're going to win the Stripling Ryu and lose the Manoah one because that's just how it works. Just in some combination of they won the first 2 games of this year. They stole the first 2 games.
They'll win the first 2 games by scoring like 30 runs. Right? Like, there'll be 2 high-scoring, ridiculous games, and then the Manoah start, they'll lose like 1-0 against the fucking A's, and this Aller dude who neither of us have heard, or none of us have heard of, will be Brian Merritt or some shit, and we'll be very angry.
Baller.
Yeah, God. If nothing else, this has been Toronto on Tilt. As always, follow us on Twitter, at Toronto on Tilt. Head on over to our YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. We're live on Twitch. We do this on Twitch. And of course, we will be posting the audio anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Bleaker, all of the things. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. Blue Jays are here. And as much as some shit's gone wrong, this team's pretty good.